Welcome back. So, I'm going to be starting, this is the first part to a multi-part series about the Holy Spirit because the Holy Spirit is amazing and has so many different things to learn about it. And I think it's something that all of us can really learn more about to grow in our faith. So, I wanted to start off this video and kind of this series with a very powerful quote from Pope Francis, which says, "Submit to the Holy Spirit, which comes from within, and he will lead you on the path to holiness." Submit to the Holy Spirit, which comes from within, and he will lead you on the path to holiness. Which is kind of cool because as we are all on this journey to get closer and closer to the Lord to eventually make it to heaven, the Holy Spirit is part of that path for us and kind of guides us in this holiness trail, basically. So to learn and understand the Holy Spirit will help us to become better Catholics, Christians, and people of faith. So what is the Holy Spirit? So it's the third person in the Trinity, right? So when we say name Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and I always thought it was kind of symbolic. Holy Spirit, it's on your shoulder. It's a big part of us. It holds us up. It helps us. Same way God and Jesus do. So it's, the Trinity. So he's definitely under-recognized and underappreciated part of the Trinity. I think it's something we see Jesus, we see God. They're more direct examples that we can kind of point to. But the Holy Spirit isn't really talked about as much. And it could be by design. God could really want us to have to really discover and explore what the Holy Spirit is. So it works all across the world, speaks truth in our lives. It does a lot of really amazing things in our faith and around the world. So there's a bunch of different symbols for it. We see the dove, which is pretty common, a fire, the fire of the Holy Spirit. Water is another one. Clouds and light are just like a few examples of how we see the Holy Spirit, and we see it in the Bible and we see it in various stories. So the Holy Spirit is seen pretty much throughout the Bible. And one of the quotes that I really like, and it was actually the quote that was said at my confirmation mass, it's from John 14, chapter 14, verse 16 through 17. And it says, "I will ask the Father, and he will give you another advocate to be with you always, the Spirit of truth. But you know it because it remains with you, and he will be in you. I will ask the Father, and he will give you another advocate to be with you always, the Spirit of truth. But you know it because it remains with you and will be in you." Pretty cool. I love how strong advocate is in that verse there. And it's even capitalized in the Bible because it's talking specifically about the Holy Spirit, which is a person in our Trinity. And so he's giving us an advocate. And that's so powerful. He gives us another person of the Trinity, and he calls it our advocate. It remains with you, and he will be in you. It remains with us and in us, always. So when we receive the sacrament of confirmation, which most of us partook either in middle school, high school, RCIA, one or all of the above, and we receive fully the gifts of the Holy Spirit. So there's 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit, which most people don't know. And I didn't know this until recently when I was actually doing this. I don't know them off the top of my head. So they include wisdom, understanding, counsel, fortitude, knowledge, piety, and fear of the Lord. And so, we receive these gifts, and especially when you're getting it in middle school and high school, like I didn't understand these gifts. They didn't really talk much to us about it, and maybe it was a different experience for you, but we didn't really know that much about all the 7 gifts. And there's a lot to them. God gives us a lot of wonderful gifts, and the Holy Spirit is part of all those gifts for us. So I'm going to talk about them and define them and discuss them. And it's probably going to be a 2 or 3 part video because there's a lot of really wonderful gifts that I want to cover and that I think we should talk about. But I mean, this is a disclaimer. There's a bunch of different interpretations and things that we can, glean from these gifts. This is just my interpretation, what I have read, what my experiences are. So if you have a different experience, a different interpretation of the gift, that is totally okay. And it's probably a great thing that you have that experience and that interpretation. But I'm just trying to present some general ideas to really try and get you thinking about what the gifts of the Holy Spirit are. So the first one we talk about is wisdom. And wisdom includes exercising good judgment, knowing the goodness of God and of his power. So in the Bible, some of you may know, some of you may not know, but there is a book of wisdom, and it's super interesting. And if you've ever read it, I really like reading it because it dives more deeply into the gift of wisdom. And I think wisdom is a very cool word because it's so strong to me. When I say someone is wise, it means so much more than when you say someone is smart or intelligent. They just like understand and have this deep comprehension of something. So in the Bible, Proverbs chapter 18, verse 11 says, wisdom is better than jewels, and all that you may desire cannot compare with her. Wisdom is better than jewels. God's saying, I bestowed upon you this wonderful, wonderful gift of the Holy Spirit, which is wisdom, and it's better than jewels. It's better than material items. It is so awesome. And it's so cool. And it's something like a lot of us don't really know a lot about. So wisdom includes like knowing God's plan, his divinity, and the divinity in the world. So it's an interesting gift. There's so much about it in the Bible, online. Continue to explore it because it's very powerful and it's a very important gift we receive. And it's awesome. It's awesome. Wisdom is so cool. The book of wisdom in the Bible is very interesting. There's a lot of really great verses that come from there and really great stories and really great insights that we can get. So the next one I want to talk about is understanding, which is the second gift. And it's intelligence, enlightenment, discerning meaning, and comprehension. So it gives us a deeper insight into faith and living out faith. So it's not just like, it's like that pyramid that we talk about in school. It's not just like the basic, like being able to state facts. We're starting to understand, and it gives us that deeper insight. So with understanding, we're able to see a clearer picture of God and the events in the world and how they interact and what it all kind of means. I'm not saying that we have to understand the purpose, the reason, the meaning, all those different things. I'm saying that we get a clearer picture. And it's kind of like saying hindsight is 20/20. As Catholics, we're able to understand the bigger picture and the impact and the purpose of God's plan. So we're kind of looking back and understanding that God does have a plan. And, still not saying that we know God's plans at all. I have no idea what God's plan is for my life. But we understand that there's something more and that God does have a plan. We can look at a situation and say, God has a plan. He has a plan for my life. He has a plan for this situation. He has a plan for all these different things. So those are the first two gifts we're going to talk about. Like I said, this is the first part of the Holy Spirit series, and we still have more gifts to talk about, which is going to be awesome. But ponder these couple of gifts that I have brought to us. They're both very interesting, both cool to read about, and notice how these gifts are in your life and how to apply them and take advantage of what God has given us, because the Holy Spirit is amazing. He's incredible. He's an incredible person in our Trinity. And he literally, in the name of Father, Son, Holy Spirit, literally on our shoulders, being our guides in our pathway to faith. So let's continue to live it out. Be excited because I'm going to get to continue with all of our fun Holy Spirit knowledge. And we're just going to grow on this path to holiness as we start learning about this person in the Trinity.